Breaking news coming in what seems like a veiled message to the Narendra Modi government over its handling of the Lalit Modi controversy involving Sushma Swaraj and Vasundhara Raje. BJP patriarch LK Advani has said that accountability and trust should be of utmost importance. He says when his name had cropped up in the Hawala diaries, he had put in his papers. Advani, in an interview to a newspaper, says that one must maintain probity in public life. Let's get a word from Rajdeep Sadesai, who's with us on the phone line. Rajdeep, would you call this a veiled attack on the Narendra Modi government by LK Advani?
Well, I think what it does show is that LK Advani somewhere is sending out some kind of an oblique message to Vasundhara Raje and Sushma Swaraj, because when he was asked this specific question about morality in public life and when should a politician resign, he cited his own example in the Jain Hawala case, where he said he immediately resigned in 24 hours the moment that his name came up in the Jain Hawala diaries. Although he refrained when asked specifically about Vasundhara Raje and Sushma Swaraj, he said, I do not know the case and I do not wish to speak about it because I hold no post in the party. But I think for some time Mr. Advani has been sending out these messages to the Narendra Modi government. You saw the message he sent out in the context of the emergency 2 weeks ago. And yes, I think to some extent it could be suggested that Mr. Advani is sending out a message that you need to maintain the highest standards of probity in public life, and that message to some extent will be seen as directed at Vasundhara Raje and Sushma Swaraj.
Right, and Rajdeep, also interesting to note that LK Advani also refers to the RSS in the interview, saying that at RSS Shakhas, everyone was taught to be honest, and that honesty was seen as the biggest virtue. So he's also trying to sort of balance out the criticism that is being leveled against the Modi government, saying that the RSS's principles are still something that if the Modi government relies upon, they'll be able to succeed in the responsibility that the people have put in them.
I think the fact is LK Advani today is seen more as someone who sermonizes from the outside. It was interesting that 2 days ago when the BJP held a function to mark the 40th anniversary of the emergency, Mr. Advani was not even invited. There were many RSS leaders who were there. Mr. Advani was not there. So there is the loneliness of LK Advani, which perhaps gives him the opportunity, perhaps from a distance, to send out these messages from time to time to the BJP and RSS. But how seriously those messages are taken, there's a big question mark over that. And that to that extent, I don't think that the BJP leadership is going to see Mr. Advani's message with any great seriousness. They seem, for the large part, to have now completely decided to ignore what Mr. LK Advani said.
Well, so you're saying that the BJP leadership is not really listening to criticism that is being mounted by LK Advani on the Modi government, or even the advice that he's given. And it's also interesting to know, Rajdeep, that the first time that interview with LK Advani was published ahead of the 40th anniversary of the emergency, Advani's office also came out and clarified, saying that criticism wasn't mounted at the Narendra Modi government.
Well, when we interviewed him, and that was the only television interview he did, in that interview, he seemed to suggest that he was referring to the Congress in the context of the fact that he believed that emergency could return to India. But that seemed to be damage limitation. The fact is the Congress only has 44 seats. It's not in power. It's clearly clear that message was clearly directed at some level at the present ruling arrangement. But Mr. Advani has, as I said, tended to send out these oblique signals to the government, but doing it in a manner where I don't think the government is willing to take his criticism very seriously, because he's now seen as more as a lonely rebel within the Sangh Parivar. So even this message to Vasundhara and Sushma Swaraj, if it is indeed an oblique message to them, is unlikely to carry much weight. Remember, Sushma was very close to Mr. Advani till not too long ago.
Absolutely. Rajdeep, stay on with us. We're getting a reaction from the Congress party. Let's take a look.
मैंने वो इंटरव्यू देखा है। अडवाणी जी को प्रधानमंत्री ने मार्गदर्शक मंडल का मेंबर बनाया था, जिसमें 3-4 लोग थे, और मैंने उस वक्त कहा था कि ये मार्गदर्शक नहीं है, मोगदर्शक है। आज वक्त आ गया है ये साबित करने का। अडवाणी जी मार्ग दिखा रहे हैं, रास्ता बता रहे हैं, पार्टी को भी, प्रधानमंत्री को भी, कि वो लोग जिन पे काले धब्बे लग चुके हैं उनको इस्तीफा दिलाओ, चाहे वो वसुंधरा राजे सिंधिया हो, चाहे वो सुषमा स्वराज हो या कोई भी हो। देखना है कि मौजूदा सरकार प्रधानमंत्री भारतीय जनता पार्टी जिन लोगों को मार्ग दिखाने की जिम्मेदारी दी थी, क्या उनके दिखाए हुए मार्ग पर चलेंगे या सिर्फ ये एक तमाशा था और पार्टी से निकालने का एक्टिव पार्टी से निकालने का एक तरीका था।
कहीं ना कहीं उन्होंने एक तरह से अपनी ही सरकार के ऊपर जो अब आरोप लग रहे हैं अलग अलग लोगों पर,
देखिए
कहीं ना कहीं शायद तंज
उन्होंने 100% प्रधानमंत्री और पार्टी को यही बताया है कि जिन लोगों पर काले धब्बे लग जाते हैं, पूरे सबूत आंखों के सामने भारतीय जनता पार्टी के आ गए हैं, उन लोगों को फिर भी आप सरकार में बनाए हुए हैं, मुख्यमंत्री बनाए हुए हैं, उन लोगों को हटा देना चाहिए और उनको शायद अडवाणी जी के मुताबिक खुद ही इस्तीफा दे देना चाहिए। हम भी इंतजार कर रहे हैं कि वो खुद इस्तीफा देते हैं या प्रधानमंत्री उन्हें हटाते हैं।
All right, as expected, opposition Congress lapping up that veiled attack, that interview that LK Advani has given to a newspaper where he said that probity in public life is extremely important and elected leaders should always try and act in an honest manner. Rajdeep Sardesai, consulting editor, is with us on the phone line. Rajdeep, there is also a feeling that there are some leaders within the BJP who are also uncomfortable with these scandals that have arisen involving top leaders. We also reported a few days ago that the RSS also felt that not acting against Vasundhara Raje especially would compromise the credibility of the Prime Minister.
That is true. That is true that there is a fear within a section of the party that they are losing the public perception gain, particularly when the Prime Minister has made corruption such a acting against corruption an important plank both of his election campaign and of his first year of Prime Ministerial tenure. Having said that, I think in the last 48 hours, the party has decided that they will not, under opposition pressure or under media pressure, ask for any resignations. That is clear from the statements that Rajnath Singh has made, from the statements that Arun Jaitley has made, that they are not going to now ask for resignations based purely on opposition pressure or media pressure. Yes, if there is a court verdict against their MLAs or MPs or ministers, that's when they will act against them. But they will not act in the absence of these of any adverse court verdict. So I think that template has now been set, and that seems to be the stand that the party has taken after initially saying that they would, after initially appearing to give the impression that they were going to bow down to this sustained public pressure and media and opposition campaign against Vasundhara and Sushma. Now they've taken the line that they do not want to be seen to be succumbing to any pressure, and which is why Vasundhara today attended the Niti Aayog meeting, which is why Sushma Swaraj is going ahead with her duties as Minister of External Affairs. And even if that means that the monsoon session of Parliament will be a washout, that's a gamble that the Narendra Modi government seems to have decided to take. Their belief is this is only the first year of a 5-year term. They believe that sacking, let's say, Vasundhara Raje would then lead to the opposition demanding for Sushma Swaraj's resignation, possibly next day Smriti Irani, and it would never end. So I think they've set the benchmark, the template. Resignations will only come if there are adverse court verdicts, not on the basis of perceived impropriety, as in the case of Vasundhara, or perceived illegality, as maybe in some other case that may come up in the future.
All right, Rajdeep, thanks so much for putting these developments in perspective for us. That was Rajdeep Sardesai, consulting editor, explaining to us the circumstances amidst which LK Advani has issued this statement now. Speaking to a newspaper, Advani said it was important for politicians to maintain probity in public life. Is that actually a veiled attack on Sushma and Vasundhara Raje? That's the question we're asking here on India Today.